This is the list of people subject to sanctions in the United Kingdom. Some are Russian government ministers accused of involvement in Ukraine. Some are linked to the separatist movements in Crimea and the east of the country. The aim is to freeze any assets they might have in London. Yet how this would affect someone like, for example, the education minister of the Donetsk People's Republic is hard to see. People like this corporate lawyer who've had a long look at the way sanctions have been enforced here say their aim was to be a warning shot against the Russian advance in Ukraine.
I think the point, and the President Obama said it several times, is to change the calculus, to make the rationale within Russia consider the economic cost will be outweighed by whatever benefits could be seen by either destabilizing Ukraine, gaining Crimea, potentially gaining 2 new provinces.
Still, this year is set to see record amounts of Russian money invested in London, and so it appears many extremely wealthy, well-connected Russians see little risk of having their own assets frozen through the sanctions programme. London's banking system is also useful for Russians who want to move their wealth through offshore tax havens, many of which are directly linked to the UK. And meanwhile, the biggest Russian companies, Gazprom for instance, continue to be listed on the London stock market without any apparent threat, the sort of thing that would really hurt Moscow. It was clear from the point when the government here started constructing its sanctions programme that really big Russian money was not going to be affected. That seems partly to have been designed to protect British interests in Russia against retaliation, but also, one assumes, in the interests of the financial services industry here as well. The really big question is whether the right people, the most important people, have actually been targeted by these sanctions. The US has taken a tougher line, for example, targeting people accused of involvement in the murder of the lawyer Sergei Magnitsky. His employer takes the view that the European line on sanctions has proved ineffective.
You start out with what I call the herding cat problem, which is that you just have too many different voices. Then you add on to that the corruption problem, and I should say the corruption problem being that there are certain people in Europe, both in the European Parliament and in different European governments, that are on the payroll of Russia.
In recent months, France and Germany have suggested more sanctions might worsen the collapse in relations with Russia, leaving the UK as the supposed hawk. But given the easy way in which Russian money washes through the city of London, Europe's sanctions programme doesn't look particularly threatening. Laurence, Al Jazeera, London.